Morning, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting for Thursday, October 9th, 2025 for the Township of Minden Hills. In reviewing today's agenda, there's one public meeting regarding a zoning bylaw amendment. As well, we have two delegations and a closed session meeting that will take place after the delegations. Madam Clerk, please proceed with a roll call.
Counselor Sisson,
Present.
Counselor Saney,
Present.
Counselor McKelvey,
Present.
Counselor Johansson,
Present.
Counselor Ingram,
Present.
Deputy Marshall,
Present.
Mayor Carter.
Present. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Minden Hills is located on Treaty 20 Michisagi territory and in the traditional territory of the Michisagi and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge the shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. I call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution for the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. Be it resolved that the October 9th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All those in favor? That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move into the public meeting. Madam Clerk, please proceed with reading the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Johansson, that council adjourns its regular meeting at 9:01 a.m. to proceed into public meeting regarding Report 2573 Planning, application for zoning bylaw amendment, PLZBA 2025028, Marfleet.
All those in favor? That is carried. I call this meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Today, there's one public meeting held by council under Section 34 of the Planning Act for application PLZBA 2025028. The public meeting is an opportunity to present to council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendment and to receive comments from the public and agencies before a council decision is made. If a person would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions before the bylaw is passed, the person is not entitled to appeal this decision. This public meeting is declared open and is considered a zoning bylaw amendment for Part Lot 12, Concession 1 in the geographic township of Anson, having municipal address 1051 Loggers Crossing Lane. Would the planning department please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application?
Morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. Through Mr. Mayor, the township received the subject application from Total Site Services on behalf of property owners Libby Marfleet and Glenn Brand. The subject property is located on Bob Lake and is characterized by large rock outcrops and is steeply sloped at the shoreline. The undersized lot has been developed since about 1962, with most of the development being within the required shoreline setback. The property owners are proposing to construct a new one-story detached garage having an attached carport. The total footprint of the proposed building would be 108 square meters or 1,162.5 square feet. The amendment is required to permit a total lot coverage of 16% and total accessory lot coverage of 8%, together with a reduced easterly side yard setback of 1 meter. Both the provincial planning statement and the county official plan identify the property as rural lands, which permits resource-based recreational uses. Policies of the provincial planning statement direct that development should be restricted near lakes, as the proposed development would be well outside the required setback. However, no shoreline disturbance would occur. The PPS does not specifically contemplate accessory structures otherwise. As per the county official plan, development is to be compatible with the rural landscape, rural service levels while having consideration for natural features. The property already being developed is part of the surrounding character, and there are no natural features noted immediately around the building site. The required 30-meter setback from the lake will also be well achieved, so the application would be consistent with the PPS and conform to the county official plan. The property is designated waterfront in the township's official plan, which stresses protection of the shoreline. Maintaining a naturalized shoreline frontage has four primary goals, being to ensure protection of habitat, prevent erosion, maintain shoreline character, and minimize visual impacts of development. Given the enhanced setbacks proposed, no disturbance within the immediate shoreline area would occur, as mentioned. Also, despite an increased lot coverage, should the application be approved, any current restrictions for development within the shoreline area would continue to apply and would not impact the current balance of built and natural form. Bob Lake is identified as an at-capacity lake, and intensified uses that are not already permitted may then require additional technical study to demonstrate that no adverse impacts on the lake or trout habitat would occur. However, these policies do not necessarily contemplate uses that are already permitted on lots where site-specific provisions might be required. That said, no impacts to slope stability, terrain, or vegetation along the shoreline would result from the application. The building design is also not uncharacteristic of the use, and as noted in the report, would not have any increased septic use nor expected to have any runoff impacts due to the topography. The design of the structure will also provide mitigation itself, as the carport will maintain the gravel surfacing. The building is therefore not expected to have any adverse impact on the lake, and so further study was not deemed a requirement. The application conforms to the intent of the township's official plan policies. The subject property is zoned shoreline residential zone. The garage/carport will comply with most development standards. The easterly side yard setback is proposed to be 1 meter, whereas 2 meters for one-story garage is required. The reduction, however, will be to an easement, which forms the driveway for this property, so no negative impacts are expected. Total lot coverage for the shoreline residential zone is permitted to be a maximum of 15%, whereas the application is requesting 16%. And also accessory lot coverage is limited to 5%, whereas the application requests 8%. Visual mitigation or visual impact is mitigated by the elevation change between the proposed build site and the existing development, and in combination with the physical distance between the dwelling and the garage would maintain a sense of open space rather than crowding the garage closer to the shoreline. There is quite a bit of natural mature vegetation on the property, which meets open space requirements of the bylaw. And as the building site will be over an existing parking area, no vegetation will be impacted. The surface beneath the carport will also be gravel and therefore will not increase the impermeable surfaces greater than what is contemplated by the zoning bylaw. The application would therefore not be expected to upset the balance between built and natural form, nor negatively impact the surrounding character or open space beyond what the zoning bylaw does permit. Accessory uses are to be subordinate to the main use of the property, which is often restricted through lot coverage. However, the size of the building is not uncommon for present-day garages intended for multiple vehicles, and the use would continue to support the primary use of the property as residential. The planning analysis for the proposed development supports the requested site-specific provisions. However, the support was based on the design, including the carport, the enhanced setback to the shoreline, and a permeable surface beneath the carport. So those were also reflected in the proposed amendment. Notice of today's meeting was circulated on September 18th, as well as being posted on the property. We've received no public or agency comments to date.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation or wish to make any comments?
No, the applicant's not in attendance today.
All right. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comments, either in person or virtually?
Through the chair, there is no one online and no one in attendance to speak to the application.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions or comments from council to the applicants, the planner, or any person who have made presentations? Councilor McKelvey?
Amanda, just a question on the finished ground surface. Normally, you don't see this in a zoning bylaw amendment. It's more of a site plan requirement, isn't it? Or
Through Mr. Mayor, so it can form a site plan agreement, but our zoning bylaw does have regulations that are more general in nature for surfacing. So it's something that's already forms part of our zoning bylaw. So I deemed it appropriate to be able to include it in this case as well, rather than having them also go through site plan agreement.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, as a result of these proceedings, does the planning department have any recommendations or comments that you wish to bring to the attention of council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the staff report recommends that council receive report 2573, planning as information, and further that bylaw 25-103, being a bylaw to approve a zoning bylaw amendment for the land subject to PLZBA 2025-028, be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
If there are no further questions, this completes the public meeting process. Anyone wishing to obtain notice of the decision may do so by making a written submission requesting such to the township's clerk. I now declare this portion of the public meeting closed at 9:10 a.m. Yeah.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shell, that council adjourned its public meeting and resumes its regular council meeting at 9:10 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to delegations, we welcome Dick Shell from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 636. Please join us at the delegation table, Mr. Shell. And please start when you're ready.
Go on.
You're on.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, and your clerk, Becky, thank you for getting me on the agenda. I want to assure council this is not for this year, it's for 2026, hopefully, so just in case we get ourselves all excited. It's something that's called commemorative crosswalks. I believe council had a picture of it.
We do.
For anybody else that wanted to have a look at it, you're more than you have, their computer. Anyway, I'll just kind of follow this. It says, first of all, raise the idea with council and the local group. Well, here I am to get council's approval and help with this. And the local group's going to be the Legion. Examples, this has already been done in Bradford, Petawawa, and I understand Peterborough and Sudbury. And last night there was Midland. There was one done in Midland. And we are kind of going with the idea of going with the cross hatch, red and white. Simple and kind of what's there now. And with the soldier on each end, lest us forget. The pavement contractor, we'd ask council to give us a name of a contractor. We'd certainly pay all the costs, but we'd like to use a contractor that council already used. So we know the surface, first of all, is right, not slippery and slimy, and the paint is going to last. And we'd like to know if we could leave it there maybe forever, who knows? I went down yesterday and measured both ends of the street, whether we do one end or two ends, depending on the cost, I suppose. The one end there is 45 feet by about, I could be corrected on this, by about 10 feet wide. The other end is 25 feet up by the bank by about 10 feet across. So that's what we'd be looking at to get a price on it. And once council approve it, if they will, I'll take it back to the Legion, and it has to be approved by the Legion members. And then we'll pay the costs. So that is about it. It's I think a worthwhile program, and your CAO has already told me about one in Peterborough, and I'd like to go and visit them if we get approval, take a delegation and go and have a look and get some names and get some ideas of how it's done, because this is new to me as well. But thank you very much for having me.
Well, terrific. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, Councillor Saini?
Just, I think with the rest of the council, just express the support for this and that you're doing the research on it. There are some things that work better than others, so there's going to be some research and type of paint, make sure it lasts and that sort of thing too. So congratulations for doing this.
Thank you. Exactly. Whatever your contractor, you've used a contractor already for the crosswalks and it's proven well. So we'd use that, hopefully use that same contractor and let them choose the paint.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. I think this is a worthy cause and something that would, I don't know, add to the downtown
Right.
of the village.
It'll be a first in Halliburton County.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Council. Good day.
You have a resolution?
I do. So I've just drafted the resolution and Counselor Saney and Counselor Ingram have moved and seconded. But the last paragraph is just that council directs staff to proceed and make arrangements with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 636 for sidewalk application. Is council comfortable with that? I just, if we leave it open-ended, that staff
Sure.
work with the Legion, then.
Should be crosswalk.
Crosswalk. I was going to say, we don't want to do the whole.
Sure,
Sure, I can put crosswalk. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives a delegation from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 636 Minden regarding a crosswalk application for the Remembrance Day as information, and that council directs staff to proceed with making arrangements with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 636 for the crosswalk application.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Shell. You too. Go ahead.
When we're getting prices through the chair, when we're getting prices, can we get a cost estimate, what it would cost to maintain that over forever? Or how often it would have to be replaced?
Yeah.
Something like, just so we know ahead of time, because the Legion may not be able to afford it at some point in time, so that would fall back on the township. So I just want to make sure we're covered there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Buy extra red paint for touch-ups, right?
Yeah.
All right, we have another delegation, but I believe the gentleman is not here, so Madam Clerk.
Correct. Mr. Herbert Johnson sends his regrets. He had an appointment that was booked last minute, so he's unable to attend today. The request before council today is to waive an invoice for an unauthorized burn during a fire ban. So the fire chief, I did have discussions with the fire chief yesterday, and he's comfortable with whatever council decides. So that is what's before council today.
Just before you go, Councilor Ingram, could you just explain the difference between the burn during a fire ban and a unauthorized burn at another time?
Right, so I'll do my best. I'm not the chief, but
Okay.
so every year we always have a fire restriction season, and that's from April 1st to October 31st, which means you can burn in the evening. So it's 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. where you are authorized to burn, but you still are obligated to attend that fire at all times. So when the fire department comes out and they either witness that a fire is unattended or it's outside of those burn times, then they issue a fine for an unauthorized burn. And that fee is typically, if I'm not mistaken, around $450. The difference with the invoice before council today is it was a burn during a fire ban. So when there's a fire ban issued, that means no burning whatsoever. And that increases the fee to $800. So typically our fire department will waive fees or sort of give warnings from time to time, especially when there's no issue on scene. And when the people are cooperative, they will sort of give a warning. But during a fire ban, that's not the case. Because we advertise so much through social media and the paper, and this was something that the province was also advertising. So
Okay. Thank
is that-
you.
did I
Yep,
cover? Okay.
you did. Councilor Ingram?
Through the chair. First of all, I will not agree to waive this. This was during a total fire ban, and not only that, it was in town, which is very serious. I would like to see more specifics on the bill. It says fire vehicle response. Could we not just put down what's responding so people have an idea what they're getting charged for? Or is it specifically just because they're having a fire? Is it a set fee? It is a set fee. I thought we did that. Yeah, okay. Okay.
It's the minimum charge.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Shell?
I would agree with Counselor Ingham. This is a really slippery slope we go down if we waive this. Yeah, it's during a complete fire ban and, I sympathize that the price seems like a lot of money, but it's also the cost of doing business for the township and we're just setting a precedence if we waive this fee.
Okay, Counselor Sani?
Just say I agree with the first two speakers, but also noting that we don't make these fire ban decisions easily. The fire chiefs do this with the province and other municipalities. And it was very serious this year with the dry conditions. So I would agree with the other two. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Please read resolution.
If I may, through the chair, we can just receive it as information, or I can actually put in that council denies the request. What
I
would
think-
council prefer?
I think denies the request.
I'll just need a second. So Deputy Mayor Shell and Councillor McKelvey, you're comfortable with the amendment to deny the request? Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Councillor McKelvey, that council receives a request to waive fees for an unauthorized burn invoice from Mr. Herbert Johnson as information, and further that council denies the request.
All those in favor of denying the request? That's carried. All right, we now move into closed session. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Sani. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 9:21 a.m. for the purpose of discussing one item pursuant to section 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, disposition of a road allowance.
All those in favor? That is carried. We will now move into closed session and we will resume. I don't believe this will be a long closed session, but we will resume as soon as we're complete. Welcome back. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution to resume open session.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Johansson. Be it resolved that closed session adjourned and open session resumes at 9:55 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. Please read the resolution with the report from closed session.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. Be it resolved that direction given in closed session be approved.
All those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes for September 25th regular council and the public meeting. Any comments or amendments? Seeing none, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. Be it resolved that council approves the meeting minutes as follows: September 25th, 2025 regular council and September 25th, 2025 public meeting minutes, PL ZBA 2025069.
All those in favor? That is carried. Payment of accounts for October 9th. Any comments or questions? Counselor McKelvey?
I had a question about the aqua billing and seeing that there's a representative here. Maybe we could just get it clarified. Okay, we're being billed being billed for the small systems for, which I understand the regulation on that. I was just trying to find out what the third building was. There seems to be 3 facilities we're being charged for, so I know that Irondale would be one of them. I think Lachlan still is, although I'd like to have that looked at. And do you know what the third one is? Okay. I thought the invoice was saying 3, but maybe I misread it. Okay. And then can Lachlan stop being tested or?
Through the chair, I think, and I will have to likely speak with Aqua about this. I think if there's an expectation to reuse this well, we want to keep it in good standing and maintenance up. We don't want it to slip into disrepair. Might be difficult to reinstate it, would likely be my opinion on that. I'm not sure if Aqua would have different opinion, but considering we're not intending to decommission altogether, I would recommend keeping it in a working order.
Could you clarify that with Aqua? When that's,
Our,
you have to be in the microphone, please.
our billing would change related to the requirements just to maintain the well versus taking sampling and disinfecting the well for use. So I think like we can discuss that with our next update for our proposal for reduction of service for there, just to maintain the well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Johansson, seconded by Counselor Saney. Be it resolved that the accounts in the amount of $785,433.36 be approved for payment.
All those in favor? That is carried. In terms of the mayor's report, just a couple of things I wanted to note. That was, for those of you, depending on if you're watching this live or on tape, it was 0 degrees this morning. And we had rain earlier in the week, but let me tell you that we have not changed. Even though we may be coming close to changing the season, we haven't changed from having very dry forests and dry land. The small forest fire that was up in Dysart this week is an indication. So please be very careful out there, and particularly if you're bringing equipment that could cause a spark. Be very careful. It's still dry as a tinderbox out there. The other point is that many of our lakes are down at very low levels. The traditional time to get to minimum levels is around the middle of October. And that's done for the trout spawning. But what that also means is that with the boards out of the dams, if there is rain, rivers could change from being very dry to being having large volumes of water going through it. So please stay safe out there and but enjoy the woods and what's remaining of the color. And that's all I wanted to talk about. Councillor Saini, Roma Board.
At this point, there's nothing to report on. We have a committee of the whole meeting and a board meeting next week. So at the meeting on the 30th, I'll have more to report. I might just mention though that our logo is going to change. So if you're looking forward on your websites and things, we are changing our logo. It's sad to me because my favorite jacket has our old logo on it. So, but we have a brand new, fresh logo and it will match the AMO logo. I hope everybody likes it. So more on this, on policies and things on the 30th. Thank you.
All right, moving on to correspondence and communication. Councillor Saini requested that item 14.1 be pulled for discussion. Are there any other items that need to be pulled? Seeing none, please read the
Moved by Counselor Saini, seconded by Counselor Johansson, that council directs staff to pull item 14.1, Pride in the Highlands Heritage Canada Federal Grant for discussion.
all those in favor? That is carried. Next resolution.
Moved by Counselor Johansson, seconded by Counselor Saini, that council receives correspondence and communication items 14.2 through to 14.6 as information.
All those in favor? That is carried. Going back to 14.1. Councillor Saini, you asked for it to be pulled.
I believe there's a resolution. on the
Well-
table. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, through the chair, I also received an email this morning. The Pride in the Highlands Committee is also requesting a support letter. So I've just added that to the resolution for council today, if council is agreeable to that.
Okay, for the purpose of everybody who may not be here, could somebody just give us a little brief of what this is?
So the Pride in the Highlands committee member reached out to the clerk's department midweek, just advising that they would like to submit a Heritage Canada federal grant to assist with their Pride in the Highlands Festival for 2026. So part of that grant submission is they request the municipality to provide a letter of support, but also a confirmation form, just basically stipulating what the municipality provides for an in-kind service to help with that event.
Okay. Councillor Saini.
Further that, and the in-kind service are things that we've done in previous years, like our equipment for events, that sort of thing. I think were the items that were listed there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Ingram?
Chair, that being said, Councillor Saini, this is only for $285. What kind of equipment is that going to cover? Right? Like if we're going to move bleachers down or whatever, right? Wouldn't there be more cost? Wouldn't there be applying for more?
Let the clerk.
So through the chair, we did have that discussion with the Director of Community Services as well as with the event coordinator. There's no cost. We don't have it in our fees right now for bleachers, for rentals of bleachers and that sort of thing. We do provide some of that service already, but we don't charge the committee for that.
okay. Very good.
It's not in the policy either because we don't have a fee set.
Councillor McKelvey.
Having said that, it would be nice that it at least show on here because it's going to, I think what Councillor Ingram's trying to say is that it shows they already have a lot more support in kind. Maybe there's no value to put to it, but you know, we do the road closures, we put up the barricades, we bring down the bleachers. There's all kinds of things that could be shown in here, just in the comments part of it, that these are the kind of things that Minden Hills already provides, and it just might help their application at Canadian Heritage.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, that's not a problem. The Director of Community Services and Clerk's Department will work with the coordinator to submit what's required.
Okay. Do we have?
So moved by Councillor Johansson, seconded by Councillor Saini, that council receives a request for support from the Pride in the Highlands for the Heritage Canada federal grant submission for the Pride in the Highlands Festival 2026's information, and that council supports the Pride in the Highlands Heritage Canada grant application and directs the clerk to sign and provide the confirmation form and support letter.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Timmons. You're on. Tertiary Filter Rehab Project Award.
Thank you, Mayor Carter, and good morning, council. Before you have report 2502 for Aqua Tertiary Filter Rehab Project Award. Aqua went through their process, their tendering process for this project. We did have a number of proponents visit the site for the site visit, but in the end, we only had one submission. The original budget amount for 2025 was $100,000, and the one and only bid came back at $196,300 plus HST. Should be noted that 30,000 of that is a contingency fund, so the expected cost is closer to 166 with that 30,000 contingency built in, you know, obviously for contingency unexpected costs. The overage we are recommending to be paid from the wastewater capital reserve, which currently has a balance of approximately 1.4 million, which we could draw the additional funds. If there are any questions, I will direct them to the cavalry. And that's the report, pretty short, considering we really only had the one submission.
So you were out by 66%. Is that what you're seeing across the province, or like why the difference?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, a lot of these projects, so we do a 5-year capital forecast. So this was one of the projects that was included in that forecast that was pre-COVID. And we're getting to it obviously now, and the pricing environment post-COVID is almost double for most projects that we're seeing across the board.
So we should look at updating our 5-year.
Yeah, when we're redoing our 5-year forecast, we're adding significant amounts of money to the projects.
Okay, Councillor Ingram.
I was gonna say I forgot, but I remembered before I forgot.
Good.
Jeremy, you and I were talking about access to that room where the filter is.
Yeah.
Jeremy's suggesting that the access is limited into taking equipment out and putting equipment in that room. So they may have to put a door in to access that for this project. It's probably a good idea down the road anyway, because most of the equipment in that room and other rooms in that building are still, the old pieces are still in there because you can't get them out without breaking them down. So for access reasons, mostly, and safety reasons, it may be something we want to look at or propose while we're doing it.
So we have talked to the contractor. They need to remove a window to get the filter out of the building to get back to their shop to do the rehab. So we had a similar project in Cajun, and we ended up installing a roll-up door in place of the window, so that for future access, we're not having to put the window back in and take it back out again. So we will look at that while we're doing that project, but I don't expect, like, we can hopefully get a small roll-up door that's essentially the size of the window, which uses existing access. So
So You bring up the point that this is being removed and doing rehab. What happens in the interim?
We bypass just the filter, so we still have all the other treatment, including UV disinfection. So we notify the ministry in advance of the project and just say we're taking that unit out of service for repair and maintenance. They'll give us back a letter stating that they approve that, and then we move ahead with the project.
Approximately how long?
I think they were estimating about 3 months. By the time they take it out, take it back, rehab it, recode it, reinstall it, and do any of the repairs that are needed.
Well,
The existing piece of equipment is also 40 to 50 years old, so the people that originally manufactured it are no longer in business. So all of the work that needs to be done to it is essentially custom work from a metal fabricator.
as I move on, I'm finding 40 or 50 years is not old.
Yeah,
Anyway.
None of us are getting any younger.
All right, Councillor McKelvey.
Aqua charges, I believe it's 15%, so that's on top of the 196.3, or is that in there?
I believe we've reduced our fee on larger projects, so I
Oh, good.
anticipate we will do the same in kind with this one.
Please do.
All right, any
Yeah,
other
pretty
questions?
please.
Any other questions? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisson, that council receives report 2502 Aqua Territory Filter Rehab Project Award as information. And that council directs staff to award this work to LWMS Ltd for a total project cost of 196,300 plus HST. And further that council approves funding the budget overage through the wastewater capital reserve.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Ms. McGuigan. So where's the rink?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So report 2520 is to give you receive for information for the Dawson Hamilton outdoor rink. After staff further evaluation and hopefully some acquiring of community volunteers, the outdoor rink will return to the cultural center location, where we'll set up like the boards and the tarp to get that down in that location earlier, so we can get it set up and anticipate for the colder weather, and hopefully Mother Nature doesn't give us a dumping of 3 feet of snow to begin with.
Any questions, Councillor Ingram?
To the chair, I remember back when I was in school, 40 or 50 years ago, we had a rink much larger than the one we're talking about. But anyway, it was at the school, and what we did is we get it out of class. Each class would go out and stomp the snow down. Maybe we could talk to the school about helping out and coming down, doing some stuff. I'll give them something to do during the day, and they can make a photo op for Bob and
Keep
and there'll probably be pizza.
their feet warm.
Yeah, keep their feet warm. Anyway, it's just a thought anyway.
We'll take it into consideration. Deputy Mayor Shell first.
I don't want to ask this question, but I have to ask this question. I think having volunteers help with the Dawson Hamilton rink is a wonderful idea. Are we going to be expecting them to have police background checks? And in my mind, it's not required, but we expect it for people to sit on the Lachlan board as an example. I think it's silly that they have to do that, but I mean, I understand the policies and the process, but are we going to expect that of people who are going to be helping us with this rink?
Through the chair, so the policy does state it. I would refer back to the clerks because there could be the possibility of them being close to minors at that time. And my understanding is that's why we have the vulnerable sector check.
Madam Clerk, you're gonna. Okay. Councillor McKelvey.
Okay, so first of all, 2 years ago, Councillor Ingram offered to help put this up, so I just want to reinforce that his offer's still there. My other question is, has staff not always maintained this?
So through the chair, staff puts it up, but once it was up, it wasn't maintained by staff. The reason why we were moving it back to the baseball diamonds is that's a closer proximity for the team to do it, to get to the rink, but we've moved it back to the cultural center. We have a plan in place with a staff member to oversee it, but amongst their tasks, they might not be able to get down and get it cleared. So we're looking for volunteers to help to get it shoveled or to let us know, hey, there is a crack or there's a low spot. Then we can get our team down there to assist with the watering.
Okay, but let's go back 2 years ago when it was at the Library Cultural Center or any year before that. Did staff not maintain it? I know we put it up, but did we not maintain it? I don't know that we've ever asked for volunteers to maintain the Dawson Hamilton Memorial Rink before, have we?
For like through the chair, when my first year here, because of a mild winter, the rink did not get erected. My understanding from staff previous years is they initially got it up and then it was left. And when they got to it, they did it, but it wasn't it wasn't on their task list.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
maybe Counselor Ingram could tell us the history then, because I can appreciate you weren't here then.
As I said earlier, I don't recall, I believe staff did look after it. Okay, we flooded it and we shoveled it with the sidewalk machine or whatever we used at the time, but I didn't personally do it, but it was done. And we'd flood it as it was needed and shovel it as we needed it. It was just part of your sidewalk
Okay,
tour sort of thing, right?
we can determine that. Counselor Sissom?
Just like to say, it's really nice to see it going back there. Because last winter it was pretty much impossible to get to it with the snow drifts and that at the ball diamond. I'm glad to see it going back.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
So through the chair, as far as requirements for volunteers, we do request that check. However, if it is a volunteer that's already on file and has already completed that, we're not going to ask for it again. So we can take a look at it and make it as easy as possible for the volunteers, but there are still some requirements for safety reasons.
Okay, Counselor Ingham?
Chair, do we charge a fee? Is there a fee for that? Or do we pay it for them? Not volunteers.
Through the
okay.
chair, no, we actually have a section on the application, Counselor Ingram, where we actually stamp it that they're a township volunteer member, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Counselor McKelvey is your. Sorry, go ahead.
I just still have trouble with staff not doing this. I'm sorry. They're there to shovel the walkways going through the museum right next to it. I don't understand why we're not maintaining this. We always have, so.
Well, okay, so there'll be something to review. Counselor Saney?
I like the idea of volunteer engagement in this. I think it'll bring more people to the rink. I think people will be much more, I get calls of people wanting to volunteer for various things around the community that they see needing done, and we normally can't have them do it. Because of insurance, because of all sorts of things. So if we can get, and there's interest in volunteers saying, hey, I want to oversee this rink and maintain it, and I think it'll bring more people there. And our staff only work so many hours a week when that rink is going to be used hopefully 24/7, right? So I think there's an advantage of having this off the plate of our full-time staff on a regular basis, and then having volunteers maintain it on a use basis. But there's different options. Thank you.
This is another question about volunteers. I think we just let staff take a look at it and come back and tell us what, which way they feel is the best to go. We're not gonna spend the whole meeting here just going back and forth on volunteers. Councilor McKelvey.
All I want to say is that but I realize we already have requests out there for volunteers and I agree, it would be nice to see that. But if we put them through the hoops and we don't get any, I want the Dawson Hamilton Memorial Rink maintained. And if that means staff, that means staff, in my opinions.
It means staff, it means money, it's a number of things. So let the staff come back to us.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure we need to come back. I think we understand that we'd like to have volunteers involved. We'll take a look at how we can best involve volunteers. We're hearing loud and clear that however we do it, the rink needs to be maintained. Okay, thank you.
Did you have another comment?
No,
or-
the CAO.
Okay, that's
covered.
fine. Read the resolution, please.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives report 2520, Community Services Department, Dawson Hamilton Outdoor Rink as information.
All those in favor? That's carried. Your next item,
Bringing back a report for 25-21 is the Always in Boots Country Line Dancing. Did meet with the owner previously to go over the community room layouts, so could see the room designs, looking at the community room too for the location of Wednesday nights. We do have scouts in on Wednesday nights as well, and it's a divider in between community room 3 and 2. Would be using music and a microphone, so I have confirmed that they have their own equipment, so they would not be using any of the township equipment for that. Did review the township partnership with the owner at this time. Always in Boots Country Line Dancing is not interested in the township partnership. So I have taken the community room rentals and I've divided it out to an hourly rate of what the charge would be for community room on an hourly rate and community room 2 for an hourly rate to be added into the upcoming fees and charges for 2026. Also, in speaking with the owner, originally was going to continue for the rest of 2025, but they are going to be going away in November. So they are not looking to start until January 2026 now. So that's why we do have the time to make the adjustments to the fees and charges. Currently, the township, we have a 5 million liability insurance for third-party renters. Currently, Always in Boots Country Line Dancing has a 2 million liability insurance at that time. They are inquiring with their insurance company what the cost would be to them to increase to the 5 million. So I am happy to take any questions.
questions? Councilor McKelvey?
So I need to try and understand this. First of all, my preference would be they do the program through us, but I guess you couldn't convince her of that.
No.
So if we change these fees and charges to, dividing it by 4, basically, is that still what she's prepared to do, or are we being asked to lower that as well?
Through the mayor, no, this would be the fees to charge. From what she was requesting, it's a couple dollars more than what her request was.
And the $5 million insurance is a hardship for a lot of people. But we make it happen for everybody else. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't change the requirements for one person as a one-off on that.
So with just to clarify, the scouts and the guides, I mean, obviously you can't have line dancing going across a portable wall. So are they going to be separated by a room, or how is this going to work?
So at this time, she's in community 2. I have had discussions if she can look at another night of the week. So Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays. So she is taking into consideration right now, she has Wednesdays in Minden. But as of right now, there would just be the divider between them.
Somehow I don't think that's going to be very satisfactory to the scouts and the guides who have, you know, I don't want to say they have dibs on it, but they're, you know, part of our community and they've been around for a long time. I don't want to make the next room such that they can't enjoy their program. So I don't, Councillor Ingram?
Let's give them room one then, for the same price. Nobody's using it.
What would room one normally be?
So if the new hourly rate is $36. And it would be $36 an hour compared to community room two at $21.50.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that they can. Look, I don't know, this is a very difficult situation to a certain extent, because you got a private business that's you know, trying to operate here and not be part of our program, which would be, I think, the ideal way to go. But you know, I just don't see how room two could be available for that type of activity on the nights that the scouts and the guides are in there. So it seems to me, take room one at the price of room one, or a different night. I mean, you've got 3 other nights. I mean, Deputy Mayor Shum?
Just to clarify, so the young lady is wanting it for 1 hour a week, or is it for 2?
So through the chair, it's 1 day a week for 2 hours.
For 2 hours, okay. All right. And she can get the insurance through us for $7.40 with the rental.
Per rental. So
Per rental, yeah.
yeah, so she potentially can maintain her 2 million liability that she has. And she could do the LCIS insurance for $740 per a rental. If we choose to accept the 2 million with the LCIS
This is
insurance.
$0.20, so you're looking at $89 and change for a 2-hour rental, and before it would have been 144 plus the insurance, so you're looking, it's almost half. Right, so I think that's very reasonable.
I think it's a good deal. Councillor Saney?
For, like you said, a private business person, I mean, again, I want to go down the slippery slope of the cost of things.
Councillor Saney?
Yes, and I would agree, but this isn't just for this group. I think we want to really max out our use of this place. So this is going to be more accessible for not just the boots and country line dancing, but for lots of other groups. I think the caution of, you know, making sure we don't have 2 rock bands next to each other is probably a good idea. But I think we can leave that to our staff. And if there's issues that they have for different reasons, either the groups can accommodate each other or our staff will help coordinate that. But I think that the more we make this usable, I think more businesses will come in or more people will come in and use it. So I like seeing us fill up the space. Thank you.
Councillor McKelvey?
I mentioned this the last time, and I don't know if we looked into it, but my understanding from a previous life was that they do a lot of damage to the floor with the cowboy boots. So has that been looked into?
So through the chair, in speaking with the owner, actually the large majority of them come in running shoes. So it's herself and maybe a couple of other ones to go into it. There is emphasis in the country line dancing kind of outside of the bar scene of that you're in control of your foot when you're doing your toe and heel. You're not actually jabbing it into it. I would have greater concerns if we were doing country line dancing 5 days a week of the heel toe into the position, but it is a multi-purpose floor that is in the community rooms.
Okay, so what do you need from us? Madam Clerk?
So through the chair, So the last paragraph in the resolution is that you accept the 2 million insurance liability. Now, hearing discussions around the room, I mean, I can just take that line out, and that would suffice that the applicant would go through the LCIS programming for insurance supplement.
Yep.
Is council comfortable with that change?
Yeah.
So that would be Councillor Saney and Councillor Johansson. Are you comfortable if I remove that last? Okay. And with respect to the second line, I think we can just keep it the same because I think council still wishes to make that an hourly room rental for rooms 1 and 2, correct? Okay,
Sure.
okay.
Counselor McKelvey?
So are we going to bring back a fees and charges bylaw amendment in the next like month or something? Is that what we're doing to make this effective January 1st or?
May I?
You go
You may.
Through the chair, that is staff's intention as a whole to bring back the fees and charge, not
Okay.
just for this one particular item, but as a whole, for the whole bylaw to come into effect in January
Okay,
for
so-
changes.
When we're doing that, I had mentioned this, but it didn't get on the agenda. I've had a person want to make the contribution to get their plaque.
Yep.
The memorial plaques on the seat, we had that seat sale. Now, I'm being told that you can't do that because we don't want to turn down $500 donations to our community center. So how do we get that back on track so that we can do it?
Right, so through the chair, to Council McKelvey's question with respect to the donation, we actually have a policy already started. It's more geared around trees and benches for different areas throughout the municipality. So I've already sent that to the Director of Community Services for us to meet and actually expand that policy and bring it back to include some other areas of acceptable donations.
Oh, okay, so somebody wants to make a $500 donation and they want a memorial little plaque put on the seat of the, I don't know that there was ever an end date on that funding program. So I don't know why we're saying it's no longer. Like way back when we started doing it, we didn't say, but that's it. We're going to stop taking the $500 donations on such and such a date. Like, I don't know why we can't just do this.
Right, and so through the chair, that's something that I wanted to actually clarify with staff is what the procedure was, because I do know at some point they did have some struggles with the plaques and where they were positioned and what they were
Oh,
using.
yeah, the
And so that-
director that we have now has certainly fixed that.
Correct, yeah.
They're beautiful little
Yeah.
plaques. They're where they're supposed to be, and she fixed all that up. So that's perfect.
Right, so that's kind of where I was going with that. I just wanted an opportunity for staff to sort of take that away, have the conversation, expand it so it's included in this policy and then move forward so that there's no misunderstanding
So
with how staff carry out the donation.
I would like to suggest that we approve the continuation of that sell a seat program. There was no end date to it when it started as a fundraiser for the arena. And we got people that want to give money and get a memorial plaque.
Okay, and that's not on the agenda today.
I realized
but
that.
we
I
can-
asked for it, but we didn't get on here. So, but we're talking fees and charges right now. So I just want to try and get that.
Go ahead.
So I think we're hearing loud and clear, Mr. Mayor, that we will take that away and look at how we resurrect that seed sale program. So if you want to forward whoever wants to make a donation, we'll take that under advisement. Forward the contact information.
Sorry, and through the chair, all I meant by that comment was that I just want to deal with what's before us right now procedurally, and then it would have been a separate resolution, but we can,
Okay.
if we can proceed with
Yeah.
this one,
read the
Mr. Mayor.
resolution.
Moved by Councillor Saney, seconded by Councillor Johansson, that council receive report 2521, Community Services Department, Always in Boots Country Line Dancing as information, and that council directs staff to change Community Room 1 and Community Room 2 to hourly rental rates commencing January 1st, 2026.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, Ms. McGuigan. Planning and Development. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, report 25-73 is regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application PLZBA 2025-028 Marfleet that we had the public meeting for. I don't have anything further to add.
Any questions? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey, that council receive report 2573 planning as information. And further that bylaw 25103 being a bylaw to approve a zoning bylaw amendment for lands subject of PLZBA 2025028 be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, report 25-74 is regarding a pre-consultation for property that's currently addressed as 1035 Schaefer's Road, and they are proposing creation of a new lot. Staff are not recommending endorsement of the proposal. It's based on review, and in my planning opinion, the creation of the new lot would not conform to the official plan policy, and more specifically with respect to access and lot frontage. The property owner did provide some information to support the proposal, which was included for council's consideration and intended to address the policy concerns. I did review that information, however, remain of the opinion that it does not satisfy the policy criteria for allowing reduced standards. But I'm happy to answer any of council's questions.
Any questions or comments? Councilor McKelvey?
One of the things that the people submitted was precedent, which you've indicated there's really no precedence in planning. But the one they use is Gillespie severance, which didn't get approved at land division, just so everyone knows. So it really didn't get, I had actually had concerns about it at the township level. And I do know it didn't get approval at the county level. More so because of access. There was quite a flurry of information about the access to that property, but I'm totally against this severance. I mean, we can't be creating little wee lots. It may have happened years ago, but it doesn't mean you continue to make the mistakes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Marshall, that council receive report 2574 planning as information, and that council does not recommend approval of the application for the lot creation at 1030 Schaefer's Road, Yatsma, to the County of Haliburton Land Division.
All those in favor of denying this request? That's carried. It's like double negatives, double positives. I'm not sure which way I'm going anymore. All right, next.
Through Mr. Mayor, report 25-75 is specific to the request from HHS to have a portion of McKay Street conveyed to them. Staff have reviewed and as outlined in their report, don't have any concerns with the request, which would generally align with our policy 26. The policy does assume that the road would be closed first, which does need to be done. However, staff are proposing to combine the process of closing the road and proceeding through policy 26 as much as possible, given that the steps are quite similar. So we're looking for direction in that regard. Also, policy 26 outlines requirements for contacting neighbors to purchase a portion of the road allowance. However, HHS would be the only ones eligible, so staff would also be looking to have that portion of the policy waived.
Do you have anything to add in terms of our process?
Through the chair, so just reviewing the policy before council with respect to this application. Really, it comes down to a question of the administration fees and the land appraisal, and then the sale of land. So is council comfortable with waiving some of those aspects of that policy?
Councilor McKelvey?
I'm quite comfortable waiving the admin fee. Charge $2, the nominal fee for the purchase, and waive an appraisal. that part I'm fine on, but I do have some questions on the actual piece of property and access, so. Just that it's always been access or an alternate access for people in McKayville, that subdivision up there. Is there intent to close that off, do you know?
Through Mr. Mayor, my understanding is that it would remain just as it is.
Okay,
With, they're proposing that there would be, access for parking off of that, but I don't think there's any plans based on our discussions to make any changes to how it currently, exists.
okay, good, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So you have a full resolution?
I do. So through the chair, Counselor Ingram and Counselor Saney, just through discussions around the table today, I just have that council waives the non-refundable administration fee and the completion of the land appraisal. And that council directs staff to proceed with the sale of lands at a cost of $2. Is council comfortable with that amendment? Okay. Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saney, that report 2575 planning be received for information, and further that council direct the planning department to proceed with the request to convey a portion of McKay Street pursuant to policy 26, accepting that closure of the municipal road will follow completion of policy procedures and the land be offered solely to HHS as the only adjacent landowners, and further that council waives the non-refundable administration fee and the completion of a land appraisal, and further that council directs staff to proceed with the sale of lands at a cost of $2.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We move to finance, Madam CAO, this is yours.
Apparently so. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to council. The report before you is really tidying up and putting a bow on the longstanding asset management plan project. It was initiated in 2023. Budget was allocated in 2023, and the report to council awarding the request for proposal to Watson and Associates did contemplate that should additional supporting work be required outside of the scope, that there was budget to support that additional work. Additional work has been required and is required to get us to the finish line. And so the report before you outlines what would be outside the scope of the original scope of work. And it really constitutes additional meetings because we've had quite a bit of staff turnover that would have been working on this project, facilitating data gathering and analysis workshops as well. So we've reviewed the original scope of work, the additional scope of work, and it is reasonable. Even with the additional allocation that's being requested today, council, the project comes in under budget. So, and with that, Mr. Mayor, seeking council's approval.
Questions, comments? Councilor Ingram?
Under budget's really nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Sisson?
I would agree with that. I'd like to see something come in under budget. Well done.
Okay, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey, that council receives report 2538 finance asset management plan finances as information, and that council approves the allocation of previously approved funds of $41,900 plus HST for additional work to complete the township's asset management plan.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving directly to bylaws.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. Be it resolved that bylaw 25103 PLZBA 2025028 be received, read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All those in favor? That is carried. Confirming bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saney, that bylaw 25104 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during its meeting of October 9th, 2025, be received, read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All those in favor? That is carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram. Be it resolved that the October 9th, 2025 regular council meeting is hereby adjourned at 10:45 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 30th at 9 a.m. on Mat Night. So please be careful out there. Thank you.